Look, I've been watching this Lakers storyline unfold from the jump, and I have to say what's happening right now isn't just a playoff series. It's a full-blown psychological thriller disguised as basketball, and if you're not paying attention, you're going to miss the one detail that completely flips the narrative. The Los Angeles Lakers, a team that limped into the postseason missing its two best offensive weapons, now sit on a 2-0 lead over the Houston Rockets, and as of today, according to the latest official injury report, Austin Reaves has been upgraded to questionable for Game 3. That sentence alone sounds like pure, unadulterated good news for Lakers fans. Their sharp-shooting, playmaking guard, a guy who averaged over 23 points per game this season, potentially suiting up in a critical road playoff game. But I'm going to ask you to pump the brakes, because if you dig a layer deeper, there's a whole lot more happening here that nobody's spelling out. And honestly, I'm not sure whether this update is the lifeline the Lakers need or the wrench that derails one of the most unlikely postseason runs we've seen in years. Let's rewind the tape for a second. It was April 2nd. The Lakers were in Oklahoma City taking on the Thunder, and in a single disastrous blowout loss, they didn't just lose the game. They watched Luka Doncic, the league's scoring champion, pull up with a strained hamstring, and then moments later, Austin Reaves crumple with a strained oblique. Just like that, the top two scorers on a 53-win division champion were gone, and the entire NBA world, myself included, I'll admit it, pretty much wrote their obituary. 3 straight losses followed, and the Rockets, a team that roared into the playoffs with supreme confidence, were licking their chops. They were the heavy favorites. The narrative was set. And then something absurd happened. The Lakers, led by a 41-year-old LeBron James who just refuses to acknowledge human limitations, ripped off 5 consecutive victories, including 2 at home, to steal the first 2 games of this series. And now here they are, flying to Houston with a stranglehold on the series, and a decision to make that could define their entire summer. Now, according to reports directly from the Lakers camp, Austin Reaves returned to on-court basketball activities over the past few days, and that's why the questionable tag appeared ahead of Friday night's Game 3. Coach J.J. Redick, speaking before the team departed, was cagey. He gave no concrete timetable for either Reaves or Doncic, but the very fact that Reaves made the trip and hasn't been ruled out is a seismic shift. And this is where I need to hit the pause button and offer my honest opinion. I think bringing Reaves back right now is an enormous risk, and I'm not talking about his oblique. When you've missed nearly a month of game action, playoffs are not the environment you want for a re-entry. The speed, the physicality, the sheer desperation of a Rockets team facing an 0-3 hole, that's not a tune-up, that's a pressure cooker. Sources close to the situation claim Reaves has been pushing hard to return, and if you know anything about his backstory, that makes perfect sense. This is a guy who went undrafted, fought tooth and nail to become a beloved Laker, and now, in his 5th season, is staring at the biggest contract of his life this summer if he declines his player option, as everyone expects. So you'd better believe he wants to be out there, not just for the team, but to show the entire league that he's healthy, he's elite, and he's worth every dime of a 9-figure deal. But that's also what makes me nervous, because when a player's contract year ambition collides with playoff intensity, you sometimes get decisions that aren't purely medical. And I'm not saying that's the case here. It's just a human nature factor that deserves a raised eyebrow. Meanwhile, the Lakers have built this mini juggernaut without Reaves and Doncic, and that's the part of the story that truly baffles me. Luke Kennard has transformed into a flamethrower, dropping 27 in Game 1 and 23 in Game 2, moving without the ball like a veteran chess master. Then there's Marcus Smart, who not only scored 25 points with 5 3-pointers in Game 2, but served as the defensive anchor, holding Kevin Durant, one of the greatest scorers in the history of the sport, to a grand total of 3 points after halftime. 3. I've been in gyms with a popcorn vendor scores 3 points accidentally, and here's a future Hall of Famer being erased by a guy who was supposed to be a stopgap. That chemistry, that bizarre, almost mystical synergy the Lakers have discovered, is it worth disturbing by slotting Reaves back in? I'm not saying Reaves is a selfish player, far from it. He's an excellent facilitator, but rotations, rhythm, and roles get jolted when a high-usage guard reappears mid-series. And that's the open question nobody can answer yet. Will his return unlock another level for the Lakers, or will it be a classic case of too many cooks in the kitchen, especially on the road where the Rockets will be frantic and physical? Here's another loop I have to open for you, and I promise I'll close it before this is over. Luka Doncic is still out for Game 3, but Redick said earlier this week that the Slovenian superstar is expected to begin initial on-court work soon. The phrasing there is so intentionally vague that it feels like the Lakers are holding a royal flush and don't want anyone at the table seeing their cards. There's a school of thought floating around league circles, and I stress this is speculation from sources who aren't authorized to speak publicly, that the Lakers might be overly cautious with Doncic precisely because they're up 2-0 and don't need to rush him back. Why risk the franchise cornerstone when LeBron, Kennard, Smart, and the rest of the supporting cast are playing out of their minds? If that's the strategy, then Austin Reaves' questionable tag could be a bit of gamesmanship, a way to dangle uncertainty in front of the Rockets' coaching staff, forcing them to prepare for two completely different offensive schemes. But if Reaves truly is ready and they throw him into the fire, they're essentially betting that his raw talent trumps the rust and the chemistry disruption. That's a high-stakes wager I'd be terrified to make if I was sitting in the Lakers' front office. Let's zoom out for a second and appreciate the sheer absurdity of where we are. The Rockets, who were supposed to waltz past a wounded Lakers squad, are now the team facing existential dread. A loss in Game 3 essentially ends their season. No team in NBA history has come back from a 3-0 deficit in the playoffs, and yet the Lakers are the ones holding all the psychological leverage. They're playing with house money, and now they're about to add a 23-point-per-game scorer back into the mix. On paper, that's a nightmare for Houston, but I've seen enough sports to know that on paper is a fairy tale. The reality is that the Rockets are wounded, cornered, and at home, and Kevin Durant is not going to have another second-half vanishing act. The desperation of an elite athlete facing elimination is a terrifying force, and if the Lakers waltz into Toyota Center with any hint of overconfidence because Reaves is back, they could get smacked in the mouth early. That's my genuine, non-sugar-coated opinion. This upgrade to questionable is, in a weird way, the most dangerous thing that could have happened to the Lakers' focus. It's a gift wrapped in caution tape, and how they unwrap it Friday night will tell us everything about their championship DNA. Now, I need to address the contract elephant in the room because it's dangling over this entire narrative like a sneaky little subplot. Austin Reaves is eligible for a massive extension this summer, and all signals from team officials, from Reaves himself, indicate he's staying in Los Angeles long-term. He grew up a Laker fan. This is his dream, not a mercenary pit stop. But let's not pretend that a strong playoff performance, especially coming off an injury, doesn't add a few extra zeros to the negotiation table. Human nature says you want to prove you're healthy and dominant, and I'm not here to question his integrity. I'm just pointing out the fascinating psychological dynamic. The Lakers need the version of Austin Reaves that plays within the flow, that facilitates without forcing, that picks his spots rather than trying to justify a paycheck. The best case scenario is he comes in, drops an efficient 18 points with 8 assists, and the Lakers win handily. The worst case, he looks tentative, the defense sags off him, the ball movement sticks, and the Rockets pounce on every hesitation to fuel a transition onslaught. I don't know which Austin Reaves we're getting, and that uncertainty is exactly what makes Game 3 must-watch television. And here's where I'm going to plant another curiosity seed that I'll circle back to. J.J. Redick's entire coaching ethos this season has been about trust and empowerment, letting role players flourish within a system. Kenneth and Smart have become local folk heroes because they've been given the green light without looking over their shoulder. When Reaves steps back into that huddle, even for 20 minutes, does a single moment of hesitation enter their minds? Do I take this shot or do I feed Austin? That microsecond of doubt is all it takes in playoff basketball to alter momentum. I'm not predicting disaster. I'm simply acknowledging that team chemistry is a living, breathing thing, and the Lakers' recent success was forged in the fire of the no stars, no problem mentality. Reintegrating a star is a luxury problem that has crushed many a good team in the past. And if you don't believe me, just look at countless historical examples where a returning player disrupted a magical run. The Lakers' coaching staff knows this. You bet they're agonizing over it. Now let me toss you a mini payoff about that Luka situation because I said I would come back to it. The silence from the Lakers on Doncic's timeline is borderline masterful. If they're truly confident he's healing and they're simply buying time because they don't need him yet, then they're playing 4D chess while everyone else is playing checkers. Imagine this. The Lakers win Game 3 behind a balanced attack, Reaves gives them solid minutes, and then Luka starts on-court work with the team potentially up 3-0 and looking at a first-round sweep. That would give Luka over a week of additional recovery to be ready for the second round with no pressure to rush him back because the supporting cast already did the heavy lifting. It's the dream scenario, And frankly, it's the one that I think the Lakers are silently banking on. But, and there's always a but, if the Rockets win Game 3 and suddenly it's 2-1 with Game 4 in Houston, the entire calculus changes. Anxiety creeps in. The whispers about needing Doncic grow louder, and Reaves' return might suddenly feel like less of a luxury and more like a desperate measure. That's the razor-thin edge this series is balanced on, and I'm fascinated to see which way it tips. All right, let's get into some on-court specifics because I think you'll enjoy how the chess match could play out. If Reaves does suit up, I suspect Redick will bring him off the bench in a limited minutes restriction, maybe 18 to 22 minutes, just to test the waters. The Rockets' backcourt defense has been suspect in the first 2 games, and Reaves' ability to attack closeouts and draw fouls could be a handy weapon against a Houston team that's likely to play with chaotic, grabby energy at home. But defensively, Reaves is going to have to hold his own, and that oblique, man, any twisting motion on defense, any fight through a screen, is going to test that muscle repeatedly. If I'm the Rockets coach, I'm instructing my guards to put Reaves in as many screening actions as possible early, not out of malice, but it's smart strategy. Make him prove the oblique is truly healed. That's not negative, it's just basketball, and it's a plot line that could go sideways in a hurry. But let's also give Austin Reaves his flowers because his career trajectory is nothing short of inspirational. Undrafted out of Oklahoma, doubted at every level, and now he's a household